So let's discuss some magnetic properties of coordination compounds. It's very important, a little bit complicated. You will be seeing some of the tables that I have drawn. So I would recommend you to draw those tables in your textbook itself. Now, magnetic properties of coordination compounds. The magnetic moment of coordination compound can be measured by magnetic susceptibility experiment. Okay, so you can know the susceptibility and you can know the magnetic properties if it is magnetic or not. Okay, that means you can know paramagnetic behavior or diamagnetic behavior. The result can be used to obtain the information about the structure which will be adopted by the metal complex. Okay, for example, these are some of the metals ions which are listed. Okay, and accordingly we know that their electronic configuration will be like this: d1, d2, d3, d4, d5, d6. Okay, so from d1 to d6 we are going. Okay, now, if I talk about number of unpaired electrons, since it is D1, I will have one unpaired electron. D2, two unpaired. D3, three unpaired. D4, okay, it will have two unpaired electrons if it is making D2sp3 octahedral geometry. Okay, I repeat, because we need two orbitals, so it will actually pair up one electron. Like, since there are four electrons in total, one will go back, so basically it will pair up with the first one, so you are having still two number of unpaired electrons, so hence you will get a paramagnetic behavior. Same way, if you have d5 configuration, so here again two electrons, like since there are five orbitals d5, each orbital is having one electron. Okay, so two electrons will go and pair up with the other two. Okay, so what it remains, it remains with only one unpaired electron, hence it is paramagnetic. Now, if I talk about d6 electronic configuration, so there are total 6 electrons. Okay, there are total 6 electrons. So if d2 sp3 hybridization is made, what will happen? The 3 electrons will come back and pair with the other 3. Okay, so you are remaining with zero number of unpaired electrons. Okay, I repeat, since there are 6 electrons and you require last two d orbitals, so the last two electrons will go back and pair up. Okay, once they pair up, you see that there are no number of unpaired electrons. Hence, the magnetic property of D6 configuration is diamagnetic for Fe2 plus and cobalt 3 plus. You see, hybridization is always D2sp3, D2sp3, D2sp3. That is your octahedral geometry. So draw this table. Next. The magnetic data agree with the maximum spin pairing in many cases, especially with the coordination compounds which are containing D6 ions. Okay. However, the species containing D4 and D5 ions, they are a bit complication, okay, or complicated. How? Let me show you some examples. Like MnCN6 3 minus has magnetic moment of two unpaired electrons. Okay, so there are only two unpaired electrons, while MnCl6 has a paramagnetic moment of four unpaired electrons. If you see, Mn is there in both the cases. Cyanide is Cn minus, this is chloride minus, but due to different ligands there are different number of unpaired electrons. Same way, if I talk about FeCN6 3 minus, if you see, it has a magnetic moment of single unpaired electron. Okay, so if you remember, you can calculate your magnetic moment in terms of Bohr magneton, that was root over of n bracket n plus 2. Okay, where n is the number of unpaired electron. So in this case, it has a magnetic moment of single unpaired electron, while if I have F6 3 minus, in both the cases iron is at plus 3 oxidation state, it has paramagnetic moment of 5 unpaired electrons. So same way, cobalt F6 3 minus is paramagnetic of 4 unpaired electron, while cobalt with this ligand here, that is your diamagnetic in nature. So overall, this anomaly was explained by valence bond theory in terms of formation of inner orbital or outer orbital coordinate complex, okay, or coordination complexes. So that was the explanation which was given. Okay. There is another theory which will explain these things much more in detail. Okay, so we will look into it in the next session. Now, talking about MnCN63 minus FeCN63 minus cobalt carbonyl group, okay, 3 minus, okay, are inner orbital complexes. They involve D2sp3 hybridization. Whereas if it is chlorine, fluorine and fluorine again, so they are our outer orbital complexes, so they will involve sp3d2 hybridization. Okay, so because of that they get their magnetic properties. If you see, all of them are paramagnetic. Only cobalt here, that is D2sp3, is diamagnetic in nature. Okay, so note down this table also. In your textbook it is written as a very big theory, so this table summarizes everything that I have said. Okay, you can talk about metal ions also. This is Mn3 plus 3 plus 3 plus, so both are paramagnetic, but one is inner and the other is outer orbital complex. Again, this is paramagnetic Fe3 plus, but this is inner orbital complex. This here forms the outer orbital complex. Same way, this is D2sp3 sp3d2, so this is inner orbital complex, outer orbital complex. One is diamagnetic whereas other is paramagnetic. Note that here also they both are paramagnetic, but the magnetic property one was stronger. Okay, if you remember, we were discussing here 2 unpaired electron, here 4 unpaired electron, so this is actually having more magnetic moment. Okay, so that way they have the same property, but one is stronger, the other is weaker. So it was explained based on the hybridization. Okay, next, limitations of valence bond theory. So there are many limitations. You can see first limitation here, it involves a number of assumptions. Okay, it does not give quantitatively or quantitative interpretation of the magnetic data. It just says yes, if it is low, if it is high, so inner orbital complex, higher orbital complex, that's it. Does not explain any quantitative values. It does not explain the color that is exhibited by the coordination compounds. It does not give a quantitative interpretation of thermodynamic or kinetic stabilities of coordinate compounds. It does not make exact predictions regarding the tetrahedral or square planar geometry, that is when the coordination number is 4. It does not distinguish between weak and strong ligands. So some ligands are weak, some ligands are strong. So it does not distinguish between them. So these are the limitations of valence bond theory. Thank you.